Hi guys, give me 1 second. I'm going to switch on the audio on my laptop and then we can get started with today's episode. What's up everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel or podcast. I am the Marketing Nomad. My name is Prithvi Madhukar. Now if I sound a little bit low energy or I don't look that good, it's because I'm recovering from a very intense viral flu, and honestly it had wiped me out so much. But I'm starting to get back to normal, and I thought, I have a little bit of energy today. Why not? I do a podio, that is a podcast and video episode just for you. And today we're going to be talking about shifting timelines. This is a topic that really interests me because there's just so much of it to understand, and I personally enjoy the idea that there are different ways that my life can pan out, and it really is in my control. So let's get into today's podcast episode, right? Okay. So first off, I believe that our reality is created by us, as in I create my reality and you create your reality. You can't create my reality, I can't create your reality. All right? I really believe in that. I believe that our reality in some shape or form has been the result of our thoughts, our actions, our beliefs, our feelings at some point in time. I really believe that. The reason why I like that concept is because it gives me a sense of control over my life. That, yes, sometimes things happen and sometimes it's really sucky, sometimes it's very unexpected, sometimes it throws you off balance. But if you think about it and you extrapolate that period of time backwards, there is some part of us that has created that. And if we have created our present, it also means we can create our future. And that to me is a very, very powerful feeling, because if I don't like where I'm at right now, all it means is that I have to make the change so that I can bring in a future that aligns with me. And so when you think about that, all right, one particular future that aligns with me is called a timeline. And there are multiple timelines. There are different ways things can go. Sometimes you don't get the job that you want, but there exists a reality where you did get that job. And even in that, there are multiple possibilities. Either you got the job, you hated it, or you got the job and you loved it. You got the job, but you were kicked out a week later because they were downsizing, so on and so forth. Even every single possibility, okay, that could have gone also has different possibilities attached to it. And so those are just various timelines, basically, that exist. It exists in some shape or form. As we talked about in the previous episodes, everything is energy, which also means that the reality you are living in some shape or form, has its own vibration to it. The reality that you are not living in also has some sort of vibration going on for it as well. It exists. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's just that you are not on that vibration, which is why you can't see it or you can't experience it. It's just as simple as that. But it exists. It exists. It's just chilling on its own. It's out there vibrating on its own. It's just you are not at that vibration, which is why you can't experience it. Right? So for me, I believe that every single possibility exists. It's just about how we tap into that and how we shift between each of these timelines so that we can live the particular timeline that resonates with us the most at that point in time. That's all there is, because tomorrow I could change. What aligns with me today may not align with me tomorrow, and that's okay. As long as I'm living a timeline today that aligns with me most to who I am right now and what I want right now, I think that's the goal. I really think that's what we should be aiming for. And as and when you grow, as and when you evolve, as and when you change your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, as and when you recognize different things that align with you, you also make the intention to shift the timeline so that you keep changing and it keeps aligning with who you are at that point in time. All right. So when I say multiple timelines exist, I mean that both good as well as bad possibilities exist, and frankly, there's nothing as like good or bad. I'm just saying it in a way that you would understand, but frankly, everything just exists as and when it is. Our perception of it is that it's good or bad, but frankly, they're just chilling on their own. There's no such thing as good or bad. It's how we perceive it. But for our perception, it's also important that we have a certain perception to things. So yes, I will give that. I will allow for that to say, I will allow for myself, I guess, to say, yeah, good and bad that we perceive. Yeah, I think that's how I would want to make it clearer. So sometimes, of course, when you are not happy with the timeline that you are at, like I said, in some shape or form, we are responsible for it, whether it is through our beliefs, our actions, our thoughts, our feelings. In some shape or form, we are responsible for the current situation that we are in, for the current reality that we are experiencing. And that also means if we are not finding it aligned with who we are right now or what we want right now, it also means you can shift it. Okay? So for me, I personally believe that shifting timelines is an art. It's a skill. It really is a skill. So before we get into that, let's first talk about how do you know you are supposed to shift a timeline, or how do you know that it's time to shift timelines? All right. So for me personally, when I start to feel that something's off in the reality that I'm living, there are parts of it that don't align with me anymore. And even so, I'm just going on autopilot, and there's nothing new happening. Everything is just the same as it was. But at the same time, I don't find peace in that. I'm feeling very unsettled. I find that things are just not aligned with what I really want. That's usually a sign that it's time for me to shift a timeline. And I say the way that I said it because I know it is up to me to shift timelines. Okay? And I want that, point to be put across to you as well. You get to shift your timeline. You get to decide, nope, I don't want this reality. I'm going to make an effort to shift the timeline. So it's up to you. It's really on to you. I truly believe that. So every time you find discomfort in your comfort, all right? You are comfortable, things are going normal, but there is some discomfort there. That's usually a sign that you are not aligned to the current timeline that you're on. And if you choose to, you can always make the effort to shift it. All right. So that is how I recognize that I'm not happy with the current timeline, or I'm not at peace with the current timeline and I need to shift. And frankly, I just want to share a little bit of life of my life with you. So 2023 for me has been the year of shifting timelines. Very, very honestly. In February this year, I realized that for the past 6 months, that was end of 2022 all the way till February, realized that I was just not happy with one of the areas of my life. To be very honest with you, it was causing me a lot of discomfort. My anxiety was rising because of it. And I didn't know what to do. I had gotten so complacent, so comfortable, but there was still so much discomfort in that comfort. And I realized, all right, I have to shift timeline because I'm not aligned with this. I'm not at all feeling peaceful in this particular timeline. I've got to shift it. And so Feb all the way till June, if I'm not wrong, May, June, yeah. It was around end of May, right? I was in that turmoil because I knew I had to shift timelines. I knew I had to actively change my path, but at the same time, I was scared. I was scared, and I knew what I had to do, but I was scared of what could happen if I chose to change the timeline, because even though there's discomfort in that comfort, right? You are scared of the uncertainty that comes when you are shifting a timeline. And so all of that happened. And then I finally just woke up one day and I said, nope, I'm shifting my timeline. I'm done. I can't keep putting myself in the same loop of thought. It's not working out for me. It's actually affecting my physical health as well. This is not right. And then I woke up one day and I said, I'm shifting the timeline, and I made another decision, and I just stuck with that, and I shifted my timeline. And it was in that moment that I just shifted it, and everything just calmed down. Like, it was immediate. I woke up that morning, I shifted my timeline, and it happens very quickly. Either timeline shifts can be slow or fast. That really depends on the situation, but this one was a very fast timeline shift. It was like, I woke up that morning, I said, nope, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. I made that one switch out of my comfort zone. I just switched out of it, and we'll get into, how to shift your timeline in just a little bit. But I made that decision, and it was just peace and calm because I was already on the vibration of the other timeline that was more aligned with me. And even now, as I'm speaking to you, it is November 8th, 11:40 a.m. I'm actually in the middle of a timeline shift right now. Like I told you, I don't think I mentioned it, right? This entire month, like October and beginning of November, I've been really, really sick. My physical health has just been a mess, an absolute mess. It's been allergies and food poisoning, and then allergies again, and then food poisoning again, and then, of course, this viral flu that completely wiped me out. And because I've been in such physical distress for the entire month of October as well as beginning of November, it's been taking a toll on my mental health. And I know I'm the cause for it. I've neglected my physical health for the last few months. And frankly, in my effort to hit certain goals for my business, I have neglected my physical health. And so for me, I'm not happy with the timeline that I'm in, even though I created this timeline, right? Where I neglected my physical health, and of course that came that came at me multiple folds. But I also understand that I can change that timeline. I can change my reality. I can shift it. And so I've made up my mind to focus on my physical health and not neglect it and take active steps towards it. So I'm in the middle right now of shifting my timeline, though this timeline shifting is going to take a little bit of time because just of the nature of it, building up my physical health and getting to that point. It's going to take me a little bit of time to get into the habit, get into the routine of focusing on my physical health, so on and so forth. So the timeline shift that happened in the beginning of the year, or well, it was May, so mid of the year, was a fast one. It was just immediate, and I was on the other timeline. Whereas this one, I guess I would say I've already shifted the timeline, given that, I've started doing more meditation and more yoga and so on and so forth, just to get my health under control, my food habits, so on and so forth. So I'm already on that timeline, but it's going to take me some time to have a strong footing on that timeline, because I can easily shift back into the previous timeline that I was not happy with and I was not at peace with, and which was me being sick all the time. So I guess I would say I have shifted the timeline, but I've not yet had a very strong foothold on that timeline yet. So yeah, I'm trying to get to a point where I'm firm, I'm steady on that particular timeline. And that also happens as well. I'm just looking at my notes to see if I've missed anything, and so far we're good. So far we're good. So that's a little bit of example on my end about timeline shifting. I think it's really powerful. I think it's powerful that if I'm not happy with where I am, I can change that timeline. I think it's powerful knowing that, because oftentimes unexpected things happen in life, right? And it throws us off balance, and it puts us in a situation where we feel extremely helpless, and that's just how life is. But when you think of it as timelines that you are experiencing, like you are just experiencing that particular timeline, and all you have to do is get out of that timeline onto another one that is more favorable to you, or something that aligns better with who you are today, I think that gives you a more better feeling, more sense of control, that okay, well, this happened, that was not what I wanted. Yes, it makes me feel helpless, but that does not mean I can't change it. That does not mean I can't hop out of the timeline that I'm currently on. And I personally love that feeling. I love that feeling because to me, it shows that I am powerful. In my own way, I create my reality. There is power within me to shift that. So I don't have to depend on things working out or other things shifting around me. No, all I have to do is look within, find what it is that I need to do, what I need to shift, so that I can jump the timeline into a timeline that aligns with me better. It makes me feel a lot better, in that moment of time. So yeah, I'm just looking down at my notes. So let's talk a little bit about how we can shift timelines, okay? So first off, it's important to believe that a reality that is aligned with who you are today exists. There are multiple possibilities of how things can go, and it's important to first believe that whatever you want for yourself, or whatever is most aligned with you, whatever brings you most peace, exists in some shape or form. All you have to do is hop on to that particular timeline. Okay? So that's the first thing for me. The second is understanding when there is a need to shift timelines. Sometimes you are happy with where you are at. You are at peace, you are on the right timeline. You just have to keep going, and that's okay, As long as you are finding comfort in the comfort, you're okay. You're on the right timeline. But the minute you start finding discomfort in your comfort, that's a big sign it's time for you to shift your timeline. All right? I'm going to repeat that again. When you find comfort in comfort, you're on the right timeline. It's aligned. It's most aligned with who you are and what you need to be doing at this point in time. But the minute you start finding discomfort in your comfort, the minute you start finding discomfort in your routine, the minute you start finding discomfort in the autopilot that you are on, that's a huge sign that it's time for you to shift your reality. It's time for you to shift your timeline. Okay, so recognizing that is also important, because not many people are cognizant of that. People, they just keep going on, and I've done it before too. And I'm pretty sure if you look back at your life, you look at some moments of your life, you are going to recognize that, hey, even though I was on autopilot, even though there was comfort in the certainty of what I was going through, I was actually not happy. I was not feeling peaceful at all, And so it's important for you to be aware of what you are feeling, thinking, believing at any given point in time. That's a huge aspect of shifting timelines, the awareness that you have That's important, all right? So that's the second thing that comes to my mind when you think of shifting timelines. So the first is recognizing that there are different timelines available for you to choose. All up to you to choose, okay? It's in your decision. It's completely yours, your choice. You decide which timeline you want to hop to. Second is recognizing when it is time. If there's comfort in the comfort, you're okay. You're doing well. You're on the timeline that is most aligned with who you are. But the minute you start finding discomfort in the comfort, that's a big sign. It's time to shift your reality. All right? So now, once you are cognizant of the fact that, all right, it's time for me to shift my timeline, get clear on what you want to shift. Like, for example, with me at this point in time, as I'm shifting timelines, I'm absolutely clear that I want to be in a space or in a timeline where I am respecting my physical health. My physical health. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm actually running out of battery on my camera. So give me a second. We'll just shift in, shift out. Okay? Okay, I'm back, but give me 1 second. I've got to hit record on my laptop again. Yep, I'm back. Okay, so where was I? We were talking about my timeline shifting, right? Yes. So right now, the current timeline that I am on, because I've been sick with allergies and so on and so forth, is timeline I'm on is I have not prioritized my physical health for months. And so as a natural result of that, my health has been really messed up, I've just been so focused on hitting goals for my business that I've completely neglected my physical health. And it's true. I own up to it. And a huge part of my reality today is because of the actions that I did not take, or the actions that I knowingly took to sabotage my health, So in some shape or form, like I already said, we are responsible for our reality today. And so for me, I want to shift that reality. And so I want to hop onto a timeline where I'm loving what I do for my physical health. I want to shift into a timeline where I'm prioritizing my physical health. And one thing that I want to put across over here is the outcome is important, yes, but you've got to first focus on the actions, the thoughts, the beliefs that you are willing to change. Okay? That's important. Okay? Because like I said, with that change, it's not necessarily that the outcome that you want is going to happen right off the bat. No, not necessarily. Because like I said, there are infinite possibilities, even to whatever actions that you are shifting, so on and so forth. So as much as possible, when I'm shifting timelines, and of course, this may vary a little bit with what you hear on the internet when it comes to shifting timelines. For me, as much as possible, I focus on shifting my actions, my beliefs, my thoughts, my feelings. I focus on hopping into a timeline where I am a particular version of myself. So for me, in a way, it's letting go of my attachment to the outcome, but it's more so I want to be that version. I want to be on a timeline where I am that version of myself. And I think this is one of the most crucial differences that I have in my understanding of shifting timelines, because sometimes life will not pan out the way that you want it to go. And it's quite but natural. But what you can have control over is the person that you are at that point in time, in that particular timeline, dealing with that situation. And you have control over how you choose to deal with that situation. So for me, whenever it's about shifting timelines, I'm not focused on the outcome. I'm focused on me becoming the person I have to be so that I fit into that timeline. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I'm going to repeat that again because I think it's a little bit of a difference in what you will see on the internet to my understanding of shifting timelines. For me, the outcome, like, I think I'll give you an example. I think that's much easier. So for me, when I talk about shifting timelines, I'm not saying that I want to be in a timeline where I'm in absolute pink of health and it's just flowery all around and I am never sick for the rest of my life. No, that's not the timeline that I envision for myself, okay? Because for me, it's not that I don't believe a reality like that exists. It's just I want to be in a timeline where I have most control over. And for me, it's all about myself. So it's not that I want to be on a timeline where there's, absolute pink of health, I never fall sick. No, I do want to get on a timeline where I'm in control of my physical health to an extent where I am a person in that timeline where I prioritize my physical health. I am a person in that timeline that does yoga. I'm a person in that timeline that loves what I'm doing for my physical health, whether it is, maintaining healthy food habits, not eating junk food, so on and so forth. So there's a little bit of a difference in the way that I personally perceive shifting reality. Like I said, it's not about the outcome. It's about envisioning the person that you are going to be for that particular timeline. That's where you have most control. That's where you have most control because I know, I can't control if, something external happens and I fall sick and so on and so forth. I can't control that, right? But what I can control is the person that I'm going to be. I know that I can control my thoughts. I know that I can control my habits. I know I can control my sleeping habits. I know I can control my food habits. I know I can control my exercise routine, so on and so forth. And so for me, when it comes to shifting timelines, I want to shift into a timeline where I have control over the person that I am. And even while I'm shifting timelines, I want to be in a timeline where I'm most aligned with myself, with the person that I want to be. So that for me is a key difference between how I personally perceive shifting timelines to, I think, most people out there. That's a bit of a difference. And for me, I'd rather shift onto a timeline where I'm capable of handling what life throws my way, rather than me shifting onto a timeline where I'm under the mercy of what could possibly happen. So that for me is important as well. So when you are shifting timelines, don't be attached to the outcome. Like, I want it to happen this way only. No, because one, you can't even possibly fathom what could happen. There are infinite possibilities, and I'm pretty sure your mind, my mind, every single person's mind out there cannot fathom the infinite amount of possibilities that could happen. So in a case like that, when you can't even imagine the best that could happen for you, all you can do is make sure you're the best version of yourself, right? That's it. It's just as simple as that. You can't imagine the best that could happen to you. I can't imagine it for myself either because my mind can't even fathom that. It's infinite number of possibilities that could work in my favor. There are infinite number of possibilities that could work in your favor. But what you can do, all right, is imagine the person that you are going to be and be that person to shift into that timeline, and so that you can open up infinite possibilities that could work in your favor. All right? So, yeah, I know we've kind of gone a little bit of a circle, especially with my understanding of shifting timelines. And I know it's a little bit different, but for me, this is a thought that brings me most comfort. I guess that's how I would put it. Because for me, I don't know what could possibly be the best for me. I really don't. As much as we think, oh, this could be the best version. No, not really. Maybe there could be something better than that. And I don't know that, right? I can't perceive it. But what I can perceive is the person that I want to be, the person that is most aligned with who I am today, and the future that I envision for myself, and be that person. That itself is shifting timeline. And so once you are clear on that, and it's important for you to get clear on the person that you have to be to tap into one of those possibilities of that particular timeline, you start embodying that person. Like, for example, for me, it's about my thoughts. Like today, I'll give you an example. Like today, oh, hold on. The power went out. I'm just going to switch off the fan. Otherwise, it's going to make this weird noise. Okay, yeah, we're back. So what was I saying? Yeah, let's take today for an example, okay? My mom made something that was a super healthy dish. Okay, usually I would have thrown a fit because that's a dish that I don't like at all. I can't. I can't. My mom made that for my birthday and I just lost it. I just started crying. I was like, I'm not gonna eat this for my birthday. Like, that's how much I dislike the dish, okay? But it's a very, very healthy dish. It's really, really good for one's body and immunity and so on and so forth. And this morning she made it, and usually I would have been like, no, I'll just have bread or something like that. I would have not eaten it. Like, that's the only dish I don't eat, okay? That's the only dish that I don't eat that she makes. And it's not that she doesn't make it well. She makes it really, really well. It's just I have this mental block against that particular dish. Anyway, today I came down, I saw that it was that dish, and I was like, you know what? It's good for my health. I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna have it without any fuss. And that, to me, itself is shifting timelines, where I'm getting into a timeline where I'm this person who is cognizant of what's good for her physical health, and she continues to take action to have those thoughts, because this was, like I said, a mind block, right? Have those thoughts, those beliefs that are in alignment with someone who prioritizes their physical health. So yeah, that to me is how you can shift timeline for yourself. Okay, first, you've got to be cognizant of the fact that you can shift timelines. It's in your hands. Believe that. Second is get clarity on the person that you envision yourself to be on that particular timeline. That's important. That's the key. That's the difference. The minute you have clarity on that, start embodying that person. And it doesn't happen overnight. I understand that. It's going to take steps. It's going to take very, very small steps. But the fact that you are even thinking of taking that step itself shifts you onto that timeline. It's just that the more actions you take, the more you change your thoughts, the more you change your beliefs, the stronger foothold you have on that particular timeline, and you don't slip back to the older one where you weren't at peace with yourself, or you just weren't happy with how it was going. All right? So I think the key to all of this when it comes to shifting timeline is you just have to be cognizant of your actions, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, whatever you are thinking at any given point, you have to be aware of it. It really comes down to awareness. The more you are aware that every single action of yours, every single thought, every single belief, every single feeling has in some shape or form an impact on what you are currently experiencing in your life, I think the more cognizant you are over that awareness, the more cognizant you are of that, the easier it becomes for you to recognize when it is time for you to shift your timeline. because there have been instances in my life too, like when I look back, yes, of course, there have been moments where I have been on autopilot, but at the same time, I just wasn't happy with what I was experiencing, and it just wasn't aligning with me, and I just kept going on that timeline. There have been moments like that. So, and there will be also in the future, sometimes things slip by you. So as long as you are constantly evaluating, taking the time to reflect, you know, even if you are feeling comfort or you feel that you are in autopilot or in a routine, it's important to keep asking yourself, well, does this align with who I am today? Because you change, right? You too are going to evolve. You too are going to change over a period of time. And it might not happen day to day, but at some point you're going to wake up and realize this isn't working for me. And so it's important to have that constant reflection as well. I think that's very, very important, right? So I'm just looking at my notes and seeing, and I've written something over here. Everything, all parts of your reality is a choice. And so if you are doing the same action, the same thought, the same feelings, the same belief, you are on one particular timeline. To shift from that timeline, you have to shift that thought, you have to shift that feeling, you have to shift that action, you have to shift that belief. And even if you shift one out of the four of them, it's still a different timeline. That's the power of timelines. All right, so that's what I've written in my notes. I feel, one more thing that I've written in my notes is we shift timelines sometimes very naturally as well. It's true. Sometimes you may not even be cognizant of it, but you might have just woken up that day and just changed your thought and said, you know what, today's going to be a good day for me, and gone about that, embodying that vibration. And you may have even shifted your timeline in that sense. But my point of this entire episode is so that you can shift into a reality that aligns with you most. Because the more awareness you have of this, the more you know, okay, well, this timeline, maybe 50% alignment, but this timeline, 85% alignment, I want to hop to that. I kind of want to give you that choice of hopping into a timeline that is most aligned with who you are. And that only happens when there is awareness on your end as well, that looking at different ways things could pan out and saying, okay, well, that's 50%, but that's 80%. That's the timeline that I want to go on. That one right over there. And then hopping on to that, giving you that choice, because the choice is there. You have the choice, and not just the choice is yours, but also there are many choices available for you to choose. There are infinite possibilities that you can choose as well. So I think for me, the takeaway in this entire podcast episode is letting you know that you can shift your reality. You can shift the timeline that you are on. It is in your power. It is your choice to make. It's just that you have to be very aware of the thoughts, the actions, the decisions, the feelings, the beliefs that you are having at any given point in time, and seeing how you can shift those so that you can hop onto a timeline that is most aligned with who you are. Okay? So yeah, that's basically it. There's one sentence that I've written in my notes and saying in quotes, this is happening because I'm on that particular timeline. So how do I get out of it? Yeah. And I guess that's the question I want to leave you with. Always ask yourself, if you're not happy or if you're not at peace with the timeline that you're on, how do I get out of it? And to get out of it, who is the person that I have to be to get onto a timeline that is most aligned with the person that I want to be in this moment of time? So yeah, that basically brings me to the end of this entire audio, which is like podcast episode and podcast episode and video. But yeah, I hope this episode helps you in some way, definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below. Maybe, there's a better way that you could have explained it, or there's something deeper to your understanding of it. I would be happy to read it, and I see all my comments. And yeah, I would be happy to do that. If you liked this episode, please do give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because that tells you every single time I do upload a YouTube video, or, even a podcast episode. I'm planning to have more of this. I'm planning to increase the frequency of these. So yeah, that's about it. That brings me to the end of this entire episode. Thank you so much for listening and watching all the way up until here. I'll catch you in my next one. Bye-bye.